I come bearing good news. Look at all the time we are gaining here as we go throughout portions of this month. 40, 50, 60 minutes of daylight. So no, not actual time. I wish I could give you that. Wow, has it been cold? Look at all this over the last week. Extreme cold compared to average in some areas that already see a lot of cold, bleaching on in across a decent portion of the Midwest as well. The good news is, look at this map. Heat! It's coming on. It's going to be much, much warmer as we go throughout next week across a really, really big section of the nation. January thaw. Hello. We've seen a lot of snow get on the ground here across not only the higher terrain, but across the middle portion of the country, across portions of the Great Lakes, even down into the south. This is a lot of snow cover compared to what we've seen a lot of the last couple of years, really, or so. So that's good news here. Meteorologist Brian Ivy here with you. Snowplow News, Norcast weather video. It's exciting stuff because we got more snow on the way, right? So we do get to the warmth eventually, but this first system ejects on out as we go throughout Thursday. There'll be a tiny little wave along the frontal boundary ahead of it. Still the lake effect snow going into Buffalo and western Michigan. And then this is going to be a widespread snowmaker developing late Thursday night through the day on Friday. And there's going to be some periods of enhancement as well with this low pressure system. As this moves off towards the East Coast, you're going to see a little bit more redevelop. A cold blast comes on in. There's going to be lake effect that could be pretty potent across the Great Lakes, and then high pressure builds on in, except for the Pacific Northwest that will be kind of active off and on at times throughout the portion of the next several days. But things do quiet down. We're going to have a big cold blast until early next week, and then we warm up, and it's actually going to be rain showers and much warmer temperatures that push on in at this point. Maybe a little severe weather chance by the time we get out in towards Tuesday and Wednesday next week with a developing system. So we're going to stop talking about the snow after this weekend for a little while. Wet conditions for sure next week, but a lot of that will be in the form of rain, not snow events. So again, good news if you've had enough of it. Possible snowfall will certainly still add up throughout the next several days. You're going to see some spots here of 4, 5, 6 inches of snow where it does enhance, and there's a little bit of that lake effect, but also a solid 2 to 3, maybe 4 inches or so to the east. There's going to be several more inches into the interior northeast. As we swing things around to the west, not too much across the middle portion of the country, but yeah, significant snowfall into the higher terrain of much of the western mountainous area. So it's going to be a continuous active pattern around here for sure. Something to keep in mind. Now, snow ratios really depend on temperature, not only the temperature on the surface, on the ground, but also the temperature aloft in the atmosphere where snowflakes are actually made. So if you have about 1/4 of an inch of water or so at a 10-to-1 ratio, which is kind of typical. Near 32 degrees, you'll get 2 inches of snow, but when that becomes a 15-to-1 ratio, because you're a little bit colder, it becomes 3 inches. When it becomes 5 or 10 degrees, that might be a 30-to-1 ratio with the exact same amount of actual moisture, actual liquid, so you get that dry, fluffy snow. And that's what we're going to see because we have this cold weather entrenched across a big portion of the nation. So notice, I mean, this is going to have some moderate to even some briefly heavy periods as it moves across portions of Ohio, Pennsylvania. You could see the bands potentially getting into Chicago, South Bend area. Philly, yeah, New York, definitely noticing that. And this low pressure system here is going to circulate around and it's going to interact with kind of the ocean. You're going to see this trough back in here and enhance things into portions of the mid-Atlantic, maybe near the nation's capital, Delaware, across portions of southern New Jersey as well. That is known as a Norland trough type setup. It's kind of that backdoor little cold front, and then there's the lake effect back behind it, and you'll see some snow squalls probably throughout portions of the weekend. So temperatures into the Gulf Stream here out over the ocean, wow, 72 degrees would feel pretty good right now. That's where the low pressure is eventually going to set up. So you have this super warm ocean water backed up against temperatures in the 20s to low 30s. That creates a big time pressure gradient, but more so a temperature gradient. Thermally speaking, it's called a baroclinic zone, and that allows for some of that kind of warmer air caused by that warmer water to enhance as it falls back over land. Very fascinating stuff for sure. So we get another big time Arctic blast that's going to come on in for the weekend with this system, but it moves out pretty quick. We get warmer weather, much warmer than what we've seen over the last week or two, push on in through the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic into the Northeast, and generally that cold air reaches way to the north, you will see coolish try to move back in, but look at this across the middle portion of the country, very mild, and then this moves back in as well. So temperatures certainly are going to be warming on up for next week. January thaw is here.
This is your Norcast weather update.